All right, so welcome back to another groundbreaking LinkedIn Live. For those of you who always attend our lives, welcome back. We love having you here. And for those of you who are brand new, my name is Kathy Belletti. I am the founder of Motivate with K.A.T, which is an online admissions and leadership training company. I'm also the host of EdUp Career Schools, The Scoop, which gives me an opportunity to really bring career schools to the forefront. So I get the opportunity to meet with everyone involved in the enrollment process, including our current students and grads. And today I have with me my sis, Aja Gregory. Go ahead, introduce yourself, Aja.
Hey, my name is Aisha Gregory, and I'm the director of admissions at Lincoln Tech, Edison, Island, New Jersey.
All right, awesome. So what we want to talk to you guys today about is quiet quitting in admissions and how to really motivate your team. So here's the thing when it comes to quiet quitting. This is something that has been around for a very long time. Really and truly, it's just that no one was paying attention. And it's happening more and more today. So now we have to get a hold of this situation. What is going on with our teams? So for some of you who are wondering, well, what is quiet quitting? It sounds familiar. What it is, it's when an employee is putting in the absolute minimum effort just to get through the workday. And guess what? In some cases, those are your top players. Those are the ones who were at one time super excited every single time they came into work. And now all of a sudden, they just have this default look on their face. They're doing the absolute minimum. And you're sitting there wondering, okay, what's happening with my top players? All right. So we're going to talk about the ways to really motivate and keep your teams engaged. So before we get started, here's three things that I want everyone to consider. Number one, how do past experiences in the workplace shape how you react to current situations? I know you can speak on this. So here's the thing. Some of your advisors are paranoid because, look, they've been abused emotionally and mentally at other workplaces. And now they come to your school and they're like, oh my gosh, is this okay? Am I supposed to be doing this? Aja, do you have any experiences with that?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I would say when it comes to that is that a lot of times people are discouraged because one, we're treating them like numbers. Just like the students, we don't need to treat the students like numbers, and we don't need to treat our clients like they're cattle. We don't need to do that to our employees, to the people that are part of our team and our staff. And so one of the things that causes that type of quiet quitting, as you would call it, and I love it, is when you no longer feel valued. When enough is just not enough, and you're doing everything that you can and it's still not enough. And that can turn into frustration. It can turn into burnout. It can turn into you just like, I just got to do whatever the minimum is that I have to do just to get by. And you're not going to get your best out of that person, especially a top rep.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it's sad because in this industry, first of all, admissions is challenging. It is really tough to be able to communicate and inspire our students. But now you get to the point where you don't even feel appreciated, and now you turn into that employee where as soon as you come in, you're just looking at the clock. And if you're already counting down when you just clocked in for the day, guess who's not getting the attention that they need either? Our students. Another point is that because they've been tainted or abused in other workplaces, when they get to a really good place or when they get in the midst of really great leadership, they don't even recognize it anymore. They're automatically going back to, well, I know what I experienced before. And they don't even realize that now they have something really good. So we have to break that cycle. The second thing is employees who have been taught to perform without the tools and resources to do so. It actually goes into the third point also. Unrealistic enrollment expectations without the skills to actually win. That leads to a lot of burnout too, because now we're thinking, this is your expectation, this is your goal. And you know how it is. You tell an advisor to enroll, guess what they're going to do?
Enroll.
because they're thinking about, oh my gosh, if I don't come in at this number, I'm going to be having a different type of conversation. And I have a
Mm-hmm.
family to feed.
Mm-hmm.
But who is hurt in the end? Our students.
That's right.
And so there's so many teams out there who are given unrealistic expectations, and then they're not even given the tools to actually be successful.
Yes.
Okay, well, what have you seen?
So I've seen a lot of that. I think as in proprietary in school, we have to invest in training our people, and that is so important, whether that's sitting down with them, getting to know their style, because sometimes everybody, like I always say, everybody can learn things. You have to put people in an environment that they can learn the way that they learn. So if that means, if you see that a person has the talent, it's there for them to be able to do this, they're motivated, then you have to do the legwork and sit with them, take the time out to even if that means putting them in front of videos that's going to give them ideas of how to do certain things, even if that means, because sometimes, as when we become higher in our positions and we become directors and things like that, sometimes we kind of forget what it is to be an admissions rep. And one of the things that I'm big on is I'm big on keeping my hands in that. So I'm going to sit with you. We're going to do calls together. I don't know what the setup might be, but I might say leave the door open and I'm going to listen and coach you from where you are. But I'm going to not just tell you what you need to do. I'm going to show you how to do it. And it's so important for us to, as directors, specifically, I'm talking to directors because we're the ones that are responsible for populating a school, right? And that's not an easy job. I would tell you, do not disconnect from the process. Do not disconnect from writing. Write with them. Tell them to overbook and show them how that is. Sit in an interview and interject when needed to, so you can show them how to do it versus telling them. Because sometimes somebody can tell me how to do something, until I do it, I really don't get it. And then another thing is, you have to understand the whys of what you're doing it. So it's like making a cake. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have the ingredients, but it's how you put all of that together that's going to make the difference. So people need to know why you're having a rapport, why you're getting off topic and going somewhere else with it, why you feel like you need to spend a little bit more time doing this or doing that. But it's very important to invest the time in coaching, you know what I'm saying, and training your people. It's super, super important, because at the end of the day, you lose too, because not only are they frustrated, you are as well. And all it does is apply more pressure that's not needed.
Exactly. You hit on a lot of great points, which we should get into the top 5 ways then to motivate your team, because I know there's so many directors out there that scratching their head and they're like, you know what? I just don't know how to get my team back. They've had an excited team at one point, and somewhere along the line, they started to lose them one by one. And let's not discount the fact that this industry alone has lost thousands of gifted and talented advisors due to lack of great leadership and support. Okay, so there's that thing. There's that one point that exists right there. But if we think about the top 5 ways to build and motivate your teams, folks, number 1, communication.
Yes.
Get to know your team. And first of all, transparency is very, very important. And if you want to lose the trust of your team really quick, keep beating around the bush and stop and keep doing underhanded stuff. Okay, you got to get your team to buy in.
Yes.
I remember my very first role as a director of admissions. First of all, I came into the worst team ever. And the reason why I say that is because I had 2 people out of 5 on my team. One was demoted from the DOA position.
Wow.
And the other one had applied for the position, and the other campus recruiting for her, right? So here I come into this environment, not even knowing what I'm about to face, right? But what happened is I had to get their buy-in, because they're looking at me like, you are a foreigner. We are all one clique in this campus, and we're giving you 1 week to get up out of here, right? what I did, I went to each of them and I said, I'm going to bring back one start for each of you. Give me all your old lists. Give me all of them.
Mm.
And the start was in like 2 weeks. I went in my office and I'm like, what the heck are you thinking? But guess what? I got on those phones and I brought back one person for each of them for that upcoming start in the next
Awesome.
2 weeks. And that's how I got their buy-in, because they're like, she just got here and she's in the office with us.
Yes.
She's banging away on those phones.
Yes. You
But
got to do it.
communication is important. You have to get to know your team. Every single person on your team is different. What are their goals?
Yep.
Do they want to be a director? Because now you can train to that. How are you going to direct someone if you don't even know the road yourself? You know, you may actually find that some of the people in your admissions team don't even want to be in admissions.
Right. That part.
You don't even know that unless you actually ask. And they may say, you know what, honestly, I wanted to be a part of the career services team. Well, congratulations. Help them get there. Nobody be stuck on your team because they're not going to perform.
Mm-hmm.
You are huge on communication. What are some of the things that you do with your team?
Yes. So some of the things, and I just wanted to piggyback on something when you said buy-in.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something. Buy-in is so important, because if it's just strong arm and rules without buy-in, all you have is compliant. You don't have the compassion there. You don't have anything there that's going to get them motivated to want to win. And our win is changing lives, right? So one of the things, and if I could just share an example of what I did recently, one of the things I did as getting to know a new team was finding out what their strengths are. Like, you know, when you think about a team and you think about football or whatever it is that you look at, you gotta find your players. You know, so one of the things that I did, and this is for you, some of you directors, I learned this a while ago. But one of the things I did was I had them all take a Marvel personality quiz. And so I sent it to them, and I'm like, guys, get this done as soon as you can, because we're going to talk about it at our next meeting. And so I know they were just going through this to see. It was exciting for them to see who they were, because sometimes they don't know where they fit on a team, you know, especially if they've had losses and things like that, or they're battling where they want to be. And so when I did that, and I found out it worked for all of us, because I found out who was on my team, and they found out their role on the team, because everybody's role is important. There's no role that's insignificant. Everybody's not going to be a LeBron. Everybody's not going to be an MJ, but you need the sidelines too. You need every part of it. So I found out what my team was made of. So I had all leaders. I had Captain Marvel. I had Spider-Man.
I love that.
And mine was the Hulk. Right? I'm the Hulk. But it was to see their faces light up, because they were really inspired. And when they talked about it, as we had the conversation about it, we were all like, you know what? I can see it. And so now that you can see what you have on your team, like you were saying, now you can better gear them. So if you know that they like to take control and they don't like nobody being on their back, and they're gonna then don't do that. That's not the way to motivate them. That's an easy way to dismotivate them. You know, if you have a leader on your team that is a strong leader, and she or he leads the team, don't get insecure about them leading that team. Let them do that job of a quarterback. Let them lead. It makes your life so much easier. So one of the ways that if I'm answering the questions, one of the way that I motivate is I find out what's in them, and I allow them to be that. And I'm there to keep you inside the lines, you know, inside the structure, but I'm going to let you be that. And I'm going to manage you in your style, so that I can get the best out of you, so you can be happy coming, and you can experience wins. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I love that. First of all, leaders promote other leaders. And what happens is, if you are a leader that is intimidated by people on your team that know more than you, you're going to have to check yourself. You're going to have to check yourself. It's so much easier when you have people that know more than you, right? Because you get a chance to sit back and say, you know what, teach. Get with your colleague over there and teach them how to do it. You're supposed to be building a team of leaders, but that ties into low self-esteem, because if you don't believe in your own ability, that's why you feel a type of way where you have some strong people on your team, when that's the best team to have.
Yeah. And you know what, just to interject in there, because I want to encourage and exhort those of you who are new directors and are growing in this. Listen, I've been there in that place where I was insecure. Okay. Where I was just like, you know what, this person knows so much more. They got so much. But guess what? You have that position, so you have something too. And we're supposed to learn from one another. I learn from my team every day. OMG, iron sharpens iron. And you know what? It's gotten easier to say, you know what? You got that. The such and such, you got that. That's not my area. But I know how to drive a number, or I know my area of strength. And knowing your strength and knowing your weakness is very important. And knowing your weakness, you use what's around you.
There you
go.
You
get stronger in that area. And then you stand and you man your ground when you know your strength. You own it.
That's right.
So don't be discouraged if you're in that stage where you're a little insecure, because listen, been there, done that. It's all good. You know what I mean? It's all good. Just grow from it, and allow what's around you to just help you. And when they buy in, they are going to help you.
Let me tell you. I think what happens a lot of times too is because people are hired to take on a leadership role, they think that they're supposed to know everything. When part of being a leader is being able to find the resources to actually help your team. No one hires anyone because they know 100% of the role. You're hired because you know how to get the job done. And part of that is being able to reach out to the people that can actually help you.
Yes.
Being able to find a strong person that's better in a certain area than you and use that to your advantage. That's what leadership is. Not feeling as if, okay, I got to be at the top of the world and I'm supposed to know everything, because if I don't know everything, then am I really a true leader? Well, let's get real. A lot of workplaces have conditioned employees to think that way. So can't always blame them either. The second thing is training. Oh my gosh, training. Stop assuming that your team knows everything, especially when it comes to your tenured advisors. Here's what's happening. There's so many tenured advisors that are being hired because you've been in the industry for a long time, so you should know your job. Sit in on a call, sit in on an interview, and you'll realize, holy crap, these tenured advisors really don't know much about the industry at all. Remember, back in the day, it was numbers driven. So you had a lot of advisors who just knew how to enroll. And let's get real, anybody can enroll. Where the skill comes is being able to inspire these students to stick it through and finish what they started. But now you have 10, 15 years later, the same advisors who were just enrolling and throwing people in there, they're still circling. But when it comes to having an effective conversation with a student, you sit in on an interview and you're like, oh my gosh, this person is throwing out 5 questions at a time. This student is not getting a chance to talk. They're talking about the school and selling the school and how great the school is. And they haven't asked this person not one question about themselves. And this person has been in the industry for 20 years. Stop assuming that your people know everything. Product knowledge is huge. You'll be surprised how many advisors on your team don't even know your programs. They don't even know the stats. They don't really even know the most simple stuff about your school. And the most uncomfortable position to be in as an advisor is when you're talking to a student who knows more than you.
Yeah.
They're talking to you about the programs and you're like, so about that. And you're on Google trying to figure out more about the program. Make sure that you're getting your team the tools to be successful. Sit in on some training sessions. Hire a training. Have training every single week on a different
Motivate with K.A.T.
Boom, there you go.
That part.
And you know what? Ask your team what they want to be trained on. Sometimes we make the mistake of thinking, all right, this is what my team needs, which is good because that's 50% of the equation. The other 50% is asking your team, what do they want to be trained on? Some of your advisors are drowning and you don't even know because you
Oh,
know
that's
that's
good. You know why that's so good? Because that makes me want to talk about how, as leaders, it's important to receive feedback from your team. You need to be able to have candid conversations. When everybody's quiet and they're not challenging you and they're not saying how what it is and what can be doing better, something's wrong. You have to be able to have that communication where they can say, you know what, Aisha, I don't know, I'm having mad no-shows. These people are just not showing this week. I talked to another rep, their people ain't showing. All right, like to Kat's point, all right, it sounds like you guys need to be trained on the script, you know what I mean, or something of that sort. But it's very important to get feedback from your team. Another thing that I want to piggyback what you were saying about seasoned reps. Sometimes seasoned reps, they just cut all types of corners. You know what I mean? They know how. Some of them, it's a catch-22. You have the ones that don't know and they've been doing it forever, and then you have the ones that think they know and they don't want to change, and they don't want to keep doing the same things. You know, the repetitiveness of the structure of our business does not change. Like that does not change. So if you're not giving tours, you know how many times I've gone and a student did not get a tour? What are you doing? You didn't give a tour. They cut corners. You know what I mean? They think they got it, but you still got to do the things that you need to do. Let's give you a prime example. You ever buy a company Cheez-Its, and then one batch is like, what did they do to this batch of cheese? The same. You know they skipped an ingredient. They held back on something. They did something that made their quality not the same. And it's the same with us. We have to give every student the same passion, the same, all of us, the same thing that we give that made us successful. We have to continue in that. And I noticed that sometimes, and I've done it. So anything I'm talking about, guys, been there, done that, got degrees and all of it, right? Did that. So you can't cut the corners, you know. Yeah. And as a leader, you have to keep saying, did you do this? If you hear them going off key, what happened? You just ran through that. What happened? You know, so you have to kind of keep them in that, know that, listen, we have to do what we gave every time to every single student. So, you know, it's just they go around different ways, and they, you know, and sometimes they just, I get it, you know, but it's not the most productive thing to do.
Yeah, you actually made a really good point. My leaders out there, get used to giving your team immediate feedback. Because sometimes, look, I know you leaders have so much on your plate. You have all these reports. You have to drive activity. You're in a meeting every 2 seconds, right? That could have been an email. We know how that goes, right? But then also when you hear something, say something, right? You don't want to wait until you address something that might have been a compliance infraction on the phone or during an interview. And you're like, I'm going to get to that later, because guess what? Now the next day comes and that same advisor is still on the phone talking to students and probably the same exact thing that they shouldn't have said in the first place. Get used to jumping in there and giving your teams immediate feedback. Yes. My advisors out there, look, this job is not easy, right? And I know what it feels like to sit on the phone all day and listen to voicemail after voicemail. I didn't request information. How did you get my information? I'm not interested at this point in time. Who are you, right? It gets annoying, especially if you go through an entire interview and then this person is like, okay, so can I have a week to think about this? I know it makes you want to pull your hair out, but you have to be able to start every single call or every single interview like it was your very first interview for the day. Because it's very easy to get, negged out from an interview that went left. And now you take that into the next person who deserves 100% of your attention and support. I used to do outdoor sales before I came into higher education. And sometimes I was in a very saturated area and I'm getting kicked out of one office and I know the walls are really thin. So I know that next business just heard me get kicked out of that one and they're probably like, here she come. But I couldn't let that get in my head. I had to walk into the very next door like it was my
Right.
very first one
That's
for the
right.
day. You know, and that's how it has to be on the phones. These
Yes.
students need you.
Yes.
Okay, but my leaders, give your teams the support, because you can't continue to say, this is what you need to do every week. This is what you need for the start. And then they're sitting in their offices like, well, how the heck am I supposed to get there? I don't even know where to start,
Yeah.
because you're assuming that they already know.
Yes. That's right.
Okay.
And I just want to say one more thing with that, with feedback. We as leaders also have to take bad feedback. If
Yeah.
I've made it, I try to create an environment where if they mad, let's come duke it out. Come in my office and tell me what's the problem, so we can discuss this, so that you're not carrying this around all day.
Yes.
So the environment has to be an environment where they can talk. They can say, look, I'm having a bad day today. You riding me, or whatever the case may be, or I'm not, one of my reps had to tell me, and I listened. I literally listened to her feedback. Aisha, I'm not wired. I am an urgent person. For me, everything is urgent. And I don't mean to be like interrupting, but when it's on my mind, it's urgent. It's urgent to me. I'm goal oriented, so I'm not looking. That's one of my weaknesses, guys. Just giving you some transparency. I'm so goal focused that I miss other things that are around the other side. So sometimes I need somebody to come to me and tell me, Aisha, I'm such and such and such. I welcome that kind of feedback, because it makes all of us better. And that's the environment. It has to be an environment where they can talk to you and tell you what it is. And you have to be humble enough to say, you know what, you're right. You know what? I apologize for that. I'm gonna work on that. You know what I mean? It's nothing wrong with that. It takes nothing away from your authority. It takes nothing away from your title. It actually makes you better.
Yep. Yep. And you know what? That builds a lot of respect right out the gate for an advisor or any employee to sit there and hear someone in leadership say, I apologize. I was wrong. I actually missed that. I'm sorry. We don't hear that enough. We hear more like, well, they've always done it this way. This is who that person is. That's not okay. That's not okay. If you want your buy-in, start apologizing and start stepping up to the plate. The third one is lead by example. Step 3, lead by example. Look, Aisha, we're OGs in this game, right? So we already know, when we came from these big companies like CEC, for instance, a lot of advisors never respected the people at the top who were actually, setting these goals, because they've never sat in the seat of an advisor. You have never picked up the phone and see what it's like to actually really try to get through one phone call with a student who feels as if it's the ending of the world and there's no way that they're going to get to their goals.
Yes.
How about you sit on the phone for a whole day, for an entire day, and listen to back calls from students who are like, no, this is not something that I want to do. Oh, you don't have that program. I've been out of school for way too long. You've never sat in the seat of an advisor. So sometimes it's really hard for teams to look at you and say, okay, you want me to do 20? I could do 20. When they're really thinking in their heads, can you do one?
Right, that part.
Can you do one? You want to take this list? Sometimes you have to be the one to jump in there and say, I may not be great at this, but I'm willing to try. I'll make a call with you. I'll make some calls with you for 30 minutes. I'll take 30 minutes out of my day. And if you bomb, so what? Okay, humility. At least your team was able to say, wow, she or he took 30 minutes out of their day to sit with me and make dials. That's what I'm talking about. That's somebody that I want to follow.
Absolutely. So important to lead by example. There's nothing, okay? Capital N, capital O, capital TH, capital ING, exclamation marks, okay? That I would tell one of my reps to do that I will not do. If I tell them, I need you to, you got appointments coming in and you maybe need, treat it like it's your business. If you got to stay a little late, I'm staying late with you if I need to. Just to build that. So they know that anything I ask them to do, I will do it. If I say do this, I am going to do it too. So they have to see that you are a part of this thing, that they are not by themselves, just trying to, they're a team. No, we're a team. How about that? We are a team. And if I need to enroll, I'm gonna enroll. If I need to do some tours while you juggling, I'm telling you, you gotta overbook, double book. Well, then
Mm-hmm.
I gotta be able to help you with that if all those people show. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very important to do anything you ask them to do, be willing to do the same thing and be willing to show them how that's done. Because, and then, you know, this is another thing. When you have these starts and things like that, after every start, like I just had a start,
Mm-hmm.
and my team, I'm new at this particular point, but my team didn't think, they always weren't doing as well as, they literally crushed this thing. They crushed their, I'm so proud of them. They
That's what I'm
crushed this
talking about.
start because we did that together.
Yeah.
You need this? All right, I got you. What you need? All right, I'm running around just like you. I'm asking you
I
to
love that.
juggle because I juggle. I'm
Mm-hmm.
asking you to be urgent because I'm urgent. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And this is what's going to bring results. So you have to be an example. Don't sit up here. Sit at the table with your team. And you don't even
Love
have
that.
to necessarily be at the head of the table. You can sit in there, you know what I
Right
mean,
in the middle.
with them. You don't got to be a here and everybody. No, you are together. You all play a role in this. And when one falters or doesn't make it, you'll have a strong enough team that, all right, she didn't do it this month, no worries. This one covered. And it's and you always hit, you always meet your goals, but
Mm-hmm.
you got to do it as a team.
Yeah. You said something very important. I think it's very important for people to understand that admissions is like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's not okay to make your team feel bad because they had a bad start or they had a bad week, because that's how this industry is. There's going to be a top advisor one start, and guess what? There's going to be a different person the next start. And what happens is sometimes advisors are not performing at their full potential because they're seeking grace from their leaders. You make a mistake and you're never forgiven. It's like
Yeah.
there's no coming back.
Yeah.
And now what happens is their confidence is now affected because they're still thinking, oh my gosh, my leader is pissed because I didn't do well. And now
Mm-hmm.
that gets into their head and it starts affecting their productivity. Give your teams grace,
Yep.
man. Look, everybody is not going to be perfect all the time. This is why you have a team,
That's
because
right.
you're going to have some people that's able to jump in and pick up
That's
the
right.
slack when this person is actually struggling for the month.
That's right.
That's where the team environment comes in. Be able to pick your people up. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 4, trust your team.
Yes.
Micromanaging. Okay, that's the quickest way to get rid of a team, really and truly. Now, let's get real. There's some people that may be in a position where they need some micromanaging for
Facts.
a certain period of time.
Facts.
But you have to be able to recognize, okay, hold on for a second. I'm on this person for way too long. Maybe you might not have the right person, because if you have to micromanage your team for a long period of time, you got the wrong team. You have to be able to trust your team to do their job. That's exactly why you hired them. And guess what? When you're on them all the time, where are you? Where are you? What are you doing? You went to the bathroom? It gets to the point where they're like, hold on for a second.
Yes.
All right, I'm in the box right now and I'm no longer enjoying what I'm doing. And guess
Yes.
what? You get that 24-hour notice, because let's get real, 2 weeks notices don't exist these
No.
days. You get that 24-hour notice. So, by the way, today is my last day. It's been
Right.
horrible
Right.
working here. Trust your team. Look, I have a degree in, if you want things done the right way, do it yourself. Okay. And that's something that I'm still working on.
That's me.
But at the same time, the more that you're able to trust your team, it makes it so much easier for you too, because now you can say, you know what, I trust this person to take this task off of my hand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it
Absolutely.
also builds confidence within your people too,
That's
where you're
right.
like, you know what, you're leading for this week. So go ahead and do your thing. I'll be
Yes.
back here watching you from the sidelines.
I'm telling you. And I wanted to piggyback with that. Like, I know I'm always piggybacking, right? But but micro, so if you are, this is for people that are building a team. Like maybe you came into a team that's not yours yet, right? So for me, this is me. I start out and I do micro because I don't know. I don't know you. I don't know your ethics. I don't know your work ethics. I just know you were here, and so we both get, this is both of us getting to know how I am. I'm learning how you are. And there is, like, pick to what Kat is saying, there is a period where you do have to, micromanage. And it's not, to be honest with you, it's not even necessarily micromanage. I like to call it accountability, right? I like to call it accountability because sometimes to get accountability, you got to kind of be a little bit closer in making sure that processes are being done the right way. People can't just do whatever it is that they want. You know what I mean? So until I see a certain consistency in you being able to implement the things that I'm trying to incorporate, then of course, because I don't like being micromanaged. You tell me what I got to do, I got it. But everybody's not like that. So you have to give them a little bit of a period of accountability. You know, everybody likes to say micromanagement, but some of us, it's accountability because you've had none. So you think that's when somebody comes in and they telling you to do things a certain kind of way, it's because they are micromanaging. No, they're managing a process. They're managing having to make sure that numbers are being met. They're managing the process. They're not micromanaging you. Because at the end of the day, if what you've been doing is not working, then that's insanity to continue to do the same thing.
Exactly.
Right? So we have to change this process, and there's a period of close accountability.
I love that. Close accountability. You know what? In a lot of cases, advisors don't even really understand what it takes to be successful, too. Right. So sometimes they may feel as if you're like on their back because simple things that should be a part of the process, they've never been doing, like a simple follow-up call. It's like, oh my gosh. And it's like, do you understand that the role really starts at the stage? Did you make this follow-up call? That's right. A lot of times when you start asking questions, you find out that nothing is being done, and boom, this is why you're falling behind, because there's so many holes in your activity. And so it kind of goes back to getting their buy-in and getting them to understand why processes are the way they are. This leads to this. This leads to that. Sometimes we have to take a step back and say, you know what? Do you understand the theory behind how this works?
Very
and a
important.
lot of people may say, you know what? No, you told me that I'm supposed to enroll, so that's what I'm doing. But you don't have a plan, nor do you have a process. And this is why you're burning out. Let's take this back to the beginning. Let's go back to basics. And sometimes our tenured advisors need back to basics.
Facts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 5, folks.
Wait. One more thing. One more thing to that. Yeah. When you when they see how this close accountability is, the results of it, and they see a win, and especially when they've seen nothing but losses because their way did not work. And then all of a sudden they see a win and they are celebrating, and listen, you don't have to micromanage anymore because they're like, oh, this thing really do work. That's why it's important after these starts to get a feedback of how you think the start went. Like, how do you think we did? What do you think that we could do that's better? You know, why do you feel like we maybe missed, or why do you feel like we crushed it? Get feedback from them. All right, that's it. That's all I wanted to say, though. But just, when they see the win with the accountability, closeness, the close accountability, we're not going to call it micromanaging for just but when they see that and they see the results, it will you won't have to have such close accountability.
You actually made a good point, because I'm about to piggyback on what you said when it comes to the wins. We have to get better at celebrating those really small wins. And I don't think that we do that enough. It's kind of like on to the next start. Okay, on to the next student. But there's many steps that lead to our goals. So how many calls are you making per hour? How many contacts are you getting? How many interviews are you getting through? Some advisors struggle with the phone, and let's get real, most advisors are afraid of the phones. Okay, everyone wants to text their students. You can't enroll somebody via text. Okay, you have to make sure that you pick that phone up and you have a conversation. But a lot of advisors are afraid of the phones. And I remember I had one girl at a school that I was consulting. She averaged 25 calls per hour. Okay. And I almost, I spoke to her and I said, okay, baby steps. We're going to get you to 75 calls first. Okay. Because, we on the 200 plus dials. She would have probably quit that day. But I said, we're going to start with the 75,000 an hour. And she thought it was impossible. She came back the next day and she actually did 85 in an hour. And she said to me, I went home last night and I told my husband that this lady must be out of her mind.
Right.
She think that it's possible for me to make 75 dials in an hour. But the whole thing is she didn't have a plan. So sometimes we're just busy, but we're not even doing anything. Right? So she's thinking she's making all these dials every single hour, and we're averaging like 200 a day, plus. And she's thinking to herself, how am I actually going to get to that many dials? Do you have a list that you pulled? How quick are you dialing? After every single dial, are you sitting here and taking 5 minutes to put in notes? Then you have a drink of coffee, then you take a walk down the hallway and come back. Sometimes we don't understand how much wasted time is spent throughout the entire day. But I put a plan in place for her. And now this girl is managing like 200 plus dials every single day. Like it's nothing, but it's all about perception. If you don't think that something is possible, well, guess what? You just put that into existence. So there it is. So it's really about your mindset and being able to think forward. I'm going to speak this into existence because it is possible. You just need a plan.
That's right.
Okay. Number 5, care. And this may seem so simple, but it's a missing piece in a lot of companies. So many executives do not take the time to talk to their staff. How are you doing today? How's your family? How was your vacation? How have you been feeling? Is there anything you need from me? Is there any area where I can help you? So many employees don't ever hear that. From the leadership team. It's just, what have you done for me lately? I need you to do this. Get it done, get it done, get it done. But these are people, flesh, blood. And a lot of employees just feel like they're a prop. They're just a prop that comes in, and they're machines that drive activity during the day. Care about your people. You would be surprised how you just stop in to say, you know what, you've been doing an amazing job. I've been watching you. Or how have you been feeling? How do you feel about this opportunity? Do you still love it? Are you still passionate? You'd be surprised what some of your employees may actually say.
And that is so true. I have a rep who works extremely hard. And I'm like, can you please get out your office? I'm tired of seeing you sit in that office. Go take a walk. Take lunch. Like, don't take that away from your team. Let them take their time. Burnout comes from working without having a breather, without having a life. You cannot suck people dry like that. You have to care about their well-being, genuinely, because they're still doing life and they're spend a lot of time here, but they got stuff going on at home. And sometimes taking a 5-minute break, like to sit. Sometimes I'll go in the office and I'll be like, what's going on with you today? How's everything going? When was your last date? Especially if I'm getting to know my rep. I'm like, well, you had a date this weekend? And it's just simply having conversation. And it doesn't mean, oh, now I'm not going to be able to reprimand or whatever you want to call it. Yes, you still can put things in process. You can still have candid conversations and care about people, and there's this imaginary line. I don't even know how we all got it, where you can't connect with the people that you work with, because then they're not gonna respect you and all that. No, that's not how the respect comes. Because when you build relationships, people want to work for you. They want to do good. They don't want to let you down because you know what? You're covering them too.
There you
You know
go.
what I mean? When you're helping them do this and that, and you're caring about their mental, and even if that means I have to take a half an hour with a rep who's really struggling with life stuff, come, let's sit down and talk. And if I got to give you some words of wisdom, I got to become your life coach that day. Guess what? I got my life coach thing going on, and we're going to do that. We're going to do the same love we give to our students. We're going to give to the people that work with us, for us, and we're going to give them that same thing, and that's all aboard. That's not just reps. That's with the education department. I'll go over there, see how you're doing, connect with everybody. We're all one team. I can't do what they do. They definitely can't do what I do. You know what I mean? So we have to care about one another. And when they know that you care and you say thank you and you say, I appreciate all that hard work your team did, and you give them the love and you mean it. And you mean it. Right. I'm gonna tell you, they will push open another extra seat for you. They'll stay behind to help you and orient. They will go over and beyond. Just because they know you appreciate them, you see their value as an educator, you see their value as whatever their role is as the custodian. Like I have a song for my security guard, and he looks forward to me singing that to him every night. But it makes a difference because you don't know where people are going to. So we got to care for people, period. That's all around.
Absolutely. And that goes right back to quiet quitting, because if employees do not feel valued, they're going to do the absolute minimum because they don't care. And they're like, look, I just need to pay bills, but if they respect you and they know that you respect them also, you're giving credit where credit is due. You're acknowledging their hard work, and you're balancing that leadership with also saying, okay, now it's time to put some pep in your step. Guess what? They're going to go the extra mile, just like you said.
Yeah.
They're going to say, all right, I think I can inspire 4 more students to enroll. When they know they have absolutely nothing to work with, they're like, all right, time to get some PDLs, because I respect my leaders so much that I want to go over and beyond. Not because I have to, because I want to. And that's how you got the buy-in from your team. Yes. Because now they're pushing and pushing because they want to see you succeed. And your success is their success.
That's right. Period. Okay. Big old black period behind that comment.
Look, I hope you guys have been taking notes today, because look, we know what it feels like to manage a team where you may have everyone who's not on the same page. You may have everyone who does not want to change. And look, in this industry, the people who are going to be the most successful are the ones who are continuously able to adapt. The process hasn't changed, but the industry is consistently changing. So if you have a team who's not willing to make the tweaks that they need to be successful, they're going to get left behind. All right. But I'm begging you guys to pay attention to your people. Your advisors are not always going to come to your office and say, hey, can we talk? I'm feeling, off today. I'm having a really bad week. Everybody's not going to do that. What's going to happen, they're going to continue to stay in their little boxes until they just stop showing up.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be wondering, wait, well, what happened to that person? That was my top advisor. She always used to be happy. Have you ever asked?
That's right.
Do you know what's going on with this person? A lot of advisors feel like they're weak, if they come and they ask for help, especially our tenured advisors, because they may be thinking, I should know this already, and it's going to be really embarrassing for me to go and ask my leader this question. But guess what? That's what you're there for, and nobody is perfect. So stop assuming that everyone on your team knows where they're supposed to be.
That's right.
Okay, any final thoughts, Aisha?
Yes, I'm going to piggyback on that. And regional directors, presidents that are over your directors of admissions, we have a hard job too, care about us, it makes a difference. So it all goes down, right? The reps, we got to give all that to them. We're in a position that we have to answer to the next level. Next level, we need you too. I'm crying out for the DLAs right now. We need those talks too. We need to be encouraged too. There's times when we lose some of our energy too, because we may have not hit a couple of starts. Give us some mojo too. We don't just want to always hear you haven't done it, you haven't done it. Give us some motivation as well. Everybody needs it, from the doorman to who, or to the the person that's always cleaning, the people that clean the bathrooms. Everybody needs to be told they matter. You matter. You're valued. So we all need it. We know we getting paid. Thank you for our salaries. You know what I mean? But we all need that. We all need that encouragement and that motivation. So those are my final thoughts. Those of you who are struggling, be encouraged. If this is something that you love to do, you're going to be fine. Just keep doing things to motivate yourself. Keep listening to things that will inspire you, and you'll be fine. As long as you care about other people, that has to be that's going to show. It's always going to outshine, your struggle.
Yep. And keep in mind too, folks, since the pandemic, people are struggling emotionally. And we have to keep that in mind. I love that you brought up the leaders, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
Right. And I think a lot of times our leaders get left out, because it's always, well, tell your team to pick it up. What's going on with the team? And it's like, hold on for a second. I'm a person too. Right. And it takes a lot of energy to drive an admissions team, because that is the engine to your school. Right. But sometimes we need to take a step back and go, all right, first of all, the admissions advisor has one of the hardest parts, because you have to inspire thousands of people to invest in something that's intangible, right? Education.
Yes.
But now you're the leader of a team who has the hardest role. Okay, so imagine what the leaders are actually going through, right? And guess what? The executives, you guys need to be poured into also. So the more that we can create this environment of building and support, you are going to see your schools go to levels that you have never imagined. Your staff members are not cattle, like you mentioned earlier in this call. They are people with families, with feelings, and they really care about your students. So in order for them to pour into the students, guess what? You need to pour into them. In order for someone to pour into your team, you need to pour into the executives and the leadership. Yes. All right. And food for thought. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. It's always fun when me and I get together. But you know what? We love what we've been doing this for so long. And if any of you guys out there need admissions training, I have a full training platform that definitely can act as a support for your director of admissions. And I also have a leadership course also. So go on over and check out lessons.motivate with K.A.T.com to set up a demo so we can get your team some training. Yes. Aja, it has been fun as usual.
Yeah.
All right. See you next time, girl.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.